This is Marianne, and this is her sister, Umbra. They come from a line of people whose shadows are alive, and well, that doesn't exactly come with lots of benefits. They love each other like sisters do, but their bond, while strong, is a difficult one. So when Umbra is invited to a school for monsters, it's hard, but they part ways. Marianne is now a girl without her shadow, and Umbra is free to be her own ghoul at Monster High. But how will she cope with such a new environment after spending her life literally hiding in the shadows? That's the premise of today's character, but before delving into her story, let's talk about her design. Umbra was actually a very challenging character to design, because when I was brainstorming her with my writer friends, they suggested a lot of traits unfamiliar to me, which meant I needed to do lots of preparation work before doing the final design. For example, her skin is very dark, so I had to do some face studies first so I could get a grasp on rendering that skin tone. I also wanted her to be very quiet since my initial idea was that she was a mime monster, but my friend Pluton was like, why not make her a selectively mute autistic character instead? I think other factors led to this suggestion, but I forgot what. We will focus on the autism first and then talk about the selective mutism way later. This is my first time writing and designing an autistic character, so I had to take my time and consider many things. I'm going to keep using her in the future, so it's important that I try my best to develop her. So how can a character's autism affect your design? Autistic people have different sensitivities and preferences depending on the person, and they can have a very hard time wearing certain types of clothes, fabrics, or textures. For example, they might cut off the tags in the back of clothes to make them wearable. Since there are many variables and every autistic person is different, I was very confused when approaching Umbra's design. On one hand, I need to make a character that at least some of my autistic viewers will relate to and like, which means making the outfit practical from a sensory perspective. And on the other hand, I need to make sure that it fits as a Monster High character, that signature over-the-top aesthetic that would be possible to make as a doll and sell well. My initial design idea before designing Umbra was autistic felt very unsuitable afterwards. I'm guessing thigh-high leather boots are not very comfortable, and getting braids can be very painful for autistic black people with scalp sensitivities, but fortunately I have autistic friends who highlighted to me what to take note of. Just because they have sensitivities doesn't mean that they don't have style, it just means they have to adapt. Besides, every autistic person is different, and I bet even if I make 5, I would not be able to represent everyone. So I'm just going to try my best. I had some autistic friends advising me on this character, and one of them said that it would be best to design her sensitivities first before designing her. This also helps because we need to know how to write her in a story and a setting with other characters. Marianne is also very important to her story, so she needs art as well. The two of them are basically magic twins, so they share a lot of traits and yet are also opposites, although we'll be talking about Umbra more. As a human allowed to live her life in the open, Marianne is extroverted, has a dozen hobbies, and is surprisingly good at most of them, and loves talking to people. As the person literally living in Marianne's shadow, Umbra hides from humans, except from their family, for fear of what people will do once they figure out Marianne's got a sentient shadow. 16 years of this affects her badly. Umbra is the introverted cynic to Marianne's sunshine disposition, although in many ways Umbra is the more cowardly one, while Marianne faces her fears outright. Marianne is also shorter and stouter than Umbra, and this is because our shadows sometimes become taller and thinner than we actually are, because of the lighting. Also, this helps highlight the differences more. Their autism is also very different. Umbra is visually and sonically hypersensitive, so she avoids bright lights and colors and too much noise. She also wears sunglasses and headphones sometimes, a suggestion from my YouTuber friend Jouusta. But Marianne is hyposensitive or undersensitive to lights and sound. She loves bright colors and listening to music. I added the beats to her hair because I imagined that she'd like bopping her head to hear them clack against each other, and this would be something that they would do after Marianne and Umbra split up. I did Marianne's design on the first try, so it's simple and suitable for a normie human. But the main thing is that it's a pleasant contrast to Umbra's more goth-adjacent soft girl style. Umbra is also hyposensitive in terms of touch, so she likes wearing more tight clothes and doesn't mind stuff like lace. Marianne's hypersensitive, so she wears loose and comfortable clothes. The only thing they have in common is that they have a weak sense of smell, so at least they both like sniffing essential oils together. They stick together a lot and nobody can understand each other quite as well, but as time goes by and they reach adolescence, Umbra watches Marianne with her school and homework and all those stupid human things. But she's also got friends and the ability to walk in daylight and so many things a shadow monster can't have. And maybe Umbra doesn't want to have just her sister and her parents as company. Maybe she wants more than that, more than just books at home and trips to the grocery store, being her sister's shadow. The two start fighting more about anything and everything too, and that sucks because they are at least supposed to be sticking together forever. Although, despite being literally her shadow, Umbra is capable of leaving Marianne, and Marianne is just fine without her. Umbra just needs someone to shadow in certain lightings, lest she get dissolved by the sun or something, and Marianne will have a shadow that's very off from other people's shadows. So, how does Umbra end up at Monster High? Well, one stormy night, a headless woman, holding her head in her arms very casually, knocks on her parents' door. If they didn't have a shadow monster as a child, they probably would have passed out, but the woman introduces herself as Mistress Bloodgood. She's heard reports of a monster in this neighborhood. Damn that stupid cryptid club at school. Knew they were trailing Marianne for a reason. And she would personally like to invite this monster to a special place. What special place? The family asks. Umbra rises from Marianne's shadow. She doesn't have to hide herself anymore. At least not now. A high school for monsters, apparently. They have dormitories and a special program for monsters with human families. You can come back to visit, says Mistress Bloodgood. It's a good opportunity for you to learn about your heritage. Cheesy pun aside, Umbra considers this seriously, even if her family looks at her with a strange mix of emotions she can't name. Her own face is unreadable. The mistress leaves, at least giving them an address. Several weeks later, at midnight, Marianne wakes up Umbra. Not that Umbra sleeps. Are you going to leave? Marianne asks. Umbra doesn't say anything. Is it because I play my music too loud? No, it's not that, Umbra says. I think I could be a person there. Someone new, someone individual. It's silent for a few moments. I've never been a person before. I've just been your sister, Umbra says. They're quiet for a while. Then Marianne says, I guess you're right. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about everything. They smile at each other for the first time in a week. It takes a couple weeks of bargaining and begging, but the both of them manage to convince their parents to let Umbra go. At her new school, she gets settled into a dormitory. This new generation of Monster High Gen B is a mashup of G1 and G3 Monster High in terms of environment and school setting, and the teachers and Mistress Bloodgood are the only characters that really appear from the original. Umbra's character arc involves her trying to shed this want to be human. She wants to be her own person, but she also doesn't want to be a monster, even though that's the only thing she could ever be. This is also why the first outfit I make for her in her final design is so normie and not as outrageous as you expect. She's a one-of-a-kind monster, unlike common werewolves or vampires, so she doesn't actually understand herself very well. This sentient shadow thing is a trait that skips generations, so she's just completely lost without any relatives like her. She's got powers she lacks practice in, like her shadow magic, where she melts into surrounding shadows and controls them. She can also teleport by melting into one shadow and appearing from another. She feels very uneasy and struggles to socialize with everyone else because she spent most of her life surrounded by only family. Also, Monster High people are just weird as heck because, monsters and also so many puns. Teresa is also part of this monster with human families exchange program, although she's half normie with a manananggal mother. She herself is a cheery manananggal with a penchant for eating raw animal organs drenched in sauce. The two of them get along surprisingly well because they actually have a lot in common, like them choosing new names once they started going to Monster High and their struggle to connect with their monster side. Their other friends consist of a Jiangshi, her ghost boyfriend, a clown monster, and a haunted doll I haven't designed yet. She doesn't really get them a lot, but they like hanging with her and don't ask why she doesn't speak to them much or at all. They do stuff like just hang around in quiet, calmer spaces and do group projects together. Regarding the idea of her having selective mutism, I need more time to research on it and decide if I'm capable of writing her having that. So for now, imagine her as being very quiet instead. My approach towards decisions like these is to either do it well or don't do it at all, so I hope you understand why I always take so much time to research and contemplate. As time goes on, Umbra starts to embrace her shadow nature and learns to use her powers. It's basically a self-acceptance arc. Meanwhile, yep, it's the second romantic subplot! Woo! Bingo the Clown has her own character design video if you wanna watch that for more context about her, but essentially she's the funny but also awkward jock-like character who's always smiling and trying to be the cool one of the group. But she's really struggling with that right now because she's got mad self-esteem issues and also the world's biggest crush on this mysterious new ghoul. Yay! This is the world's most awkward slow burn of all time, and it would probably take 1.5 years for them to get together. This is a train wreck of a slow burn, and their friends sit at the sides shaking their heads. Bingo can only charm girls she doesn't like that way, and when it comes to girls she actually likes, she's just atrocious at flirting. Umbra can't catch or throw signals either, and overall, the whole situation is just a muddy mess. Sometimes the friend group steps into wingman, but obviously that's just for comedic failure. Bingo can't seem to charm Umbra, who just really wants to make some friends and feel normal, but it's really hard to feel normal when your friend is trying to impress you with her clownery skills. Luckily, Bingo gets what overstimulates Umbra pretty quickly, and learns that it's not stunts that will win Umbra's heart, but just hanging out with her in a way that they can both enjoy. Umbra has little to no facial expressions, and she expresses her affections in more subtle ways Bingo doesn't get at first. But after a while, they start to learn to read each other better and learn to show affection in a way both can understand and enjoy. Bingo learns to be more comfortable around her, and that it's okay, she can put down the always happy facade and just relax around Umbra. Umbra feels more comfortable being a monster when she sees Bingo doing her own weird things, and she feels encouraged by Bingo to have more ambition. Plus, they both struggle with their monsterness in different ways, so that's cool. Since Bingo doesn't feel like a proper clown monster, I do actually have clown lore for this series, but I'll be touching on that in a future video. After they start dating, they'd be pretty touchy-feely, and I think that's cute. You know, since Umbra actually does need people to shadow when they're in very like broad daylight or stuff like that, she's always holding on to Bingo's arm. I think that's cute. Very cute. She also likes tight hugs. Yay! Oh my gosh, I love ship so much. So like with the other ship of the series, Juju and Takyo, their main purpose is to just teach communication lessons or something to the child audience. Also imagine bringing home a literal clown girlfriend to meet your family. For her final design, we have 2 outfits and her face. I think her nose is really nice particularly, and I do feel like her face is pretty suitable for this sort of character. It was so worth it doing 3 art studies for her. One critic I got from her initial iterations was that she didn't have that Monster High feel, and my YouTube bestie Pistachiomi is the one that actually suggested that I make that into a characteristic where she doesn't want to be a monster. So thank you for that great idea, my bestie for life. Jouusta was also the one who helped suggest to me the headphones and sunglasses combo, and I think that really does make her stand out in a really cool way, and I don't think you see a lot of characters wearing both of these at once, so I appreciate it. Thanks, buddy! Umbra's first design is very normal except for the monochrome color palette. Her headphones have this skull thing, which I find amusing because it really reminds me of those Minecraft days where every skin was wearing headphones for some reason. The only thing that could be vaguely spooky about this normie design is that her buttons are actually irises with pupils, but it's very, very subtle. Her second design shows her embracing her own scaritage. Her headphones are whiter and her outfit is edgier with the tattered dress and the skull button. Even her glasses are a bit more sharp. The weird cardigan with both loose and tight sleeves also adds a bit of spice to the design. She's got literal bone straps on her thigh-high leather boots. I think it works actually. On the aesthetic side of things, while visually this design seems like it would appeal to at least some people, I am pretty sure that these designs would not be possible to make in mass production because I have never seen a doll with French curl braids or thigh-high boots because then they'd be made with plastic and then the legs can't bend. Fun fact! I have never held or even seen a Monster High doll in real life. Toys R Us Singapore? Why? Overall, I think that Umbra has had a hard, rocky, but still good start, and I cannot wait to improve her in the future. To my autistic viewers, please do let me know what you think of her in the comments. I learned a lot from designing her. I had to do multiple rounds of iterations and get suggestions from my autistic friends to correct her design more each time. And after all that work, I do feel like I could have done better. Like maybe I should have incorporated her special interest in space into her design while trying not to make her look like an alien. But at the same time, I also wanted to release this video without taking 2 months on it, especially now that school has started for me. This video was extremely difficult to make, and I had to try many new things. And the more new things you try, the more you can fail. But I would rather try and fail than not try at all and not learn anything new. So that's the main lesson I learned from this character design, alongside the lots of art practice I got. Thanks for watching this video, cousins, and I hope you have a great time.